The story begins with a down-on-his-luck man who decides to take a single mother out on a date. At first, everything seems ordinary until he arrives near her home. There, he's swarmed with affection from her children, only to finally flee in panic. The two kids have made it their mission to sabotage anyone who tries to get close to their beautiful mother, setting traps and creating obstacles in hopes of reuniting their divorced parents. Elsewhere in the city, Nick Persons strides into a luxury car dealership, brimming with excitement to pick up his brand new ride. The first thing he does is place his beloved figurine, Satchel, on the dashboard and ask for its opinion. With his imaginary friend's approval, Nick drives out of the showroom in high spirits, eager to show off. Almost immediately, he begins parading his new car through the neighborhood, using it as bait to charm single women. His co-worker, Marty, is both impressed and alarmed by the expensive purchase, worried about the steep payments looming ahead. But Nick shrugs it off, certain he'll have no problem covering the costs. After all, he owns a specialty sports memorabilia shop, and as everyone knows, he has no patience for kids. While cleaning up the mess left by a group of troublemaking children, Nick catches sight of Suzanne. In a single glance, he's spellbound. Marty fills him in. Suzanne is new to the neighborhood, recently divorced, and raising two kids on her own. The news doesn't bother Nick. In fact, he's eager to introduce himself. But the moment he notices her children, his resolve evaporates. He retreats back to his shop, defeated. His aversion to kids is so strong that he's willing to abandon what feels like true love. That same night, as rain pours down, fate intervenes. Driving home, Nick runs into Suzanne, stranded with a dead battery. At first, he tries to ignore her, writing her off as a lost cause, but Satchel urges him to be a gentleman and help the single mother. Reluctantly, Nick steps in. Amid some playful flirting, he hooks up the jumper cables, only to zap himself in the rain, forcing both of them into his car. Inside, he uses the car's luxuries to warm her up and tries to impress her. When she notices the figurine on the dashboard, Suzanne surprises him with detailed knowledge about Satchel, the legendary baseball player Nick idolizes. Her insight only deepens his fascination with her. With Satchel's imaginary approval, Nick begins to believe he may have finally found true love, even if Suzanne comes with two kids. After dropping her off, Nick eagerly looks for a second date. But just then, he has his first encounter with Suzanne's children. Suzanne introduces him as her rescuer, but the kids are far from welcoming.
I was just wondering if you could give me a ride to work tomorrow.
Of course.
In the days that follow, Nick essentially becomes Suzanne's personal chauffeur, happily driving her to and from work. Along the way, he ignores repeated warnings from her kids, blinded by infatuation. At a supermarket, Suzanne playfully insists on seeing Nick without his signature cap. What begins as lighthearted teasing leads to an unexpected closeness. Just as their first kiss is about to happen, Suzanne pulls away. She tells Nick that until he can build a real bond with her children, they should remain just friends. For the first time, Nick is shaken, realizing he doesn't want to lose the one woman who could be the love of his life. Later, after basketball practice, Marty notices Nick preparing to leave early to drive Suzanne to the airport. He warns Nick to abandon this pointless romance, insisting it will only end badly. But Nick, determined and undeterred by his friend's ridicule, walks out. Suzanne, forced to leave town for a year-end business trip, is torn. Just before their farewell, Nick tries to define their relationship, but the moment is cut short by a phone call from the children's father, Frank, who announces he won't be coming for Christmas, dodging his parental responsibilities yet again. Heartbroken, Suzanne cancels her trip, choosing to stay with her kids. Seeing her despair, Nick makes a bold decision. He offers to take the kids to the airport himself and fly with them to their mother's hotel, so Suzanne can still attend her business trip. This way, Nick not only earns Suzanne's gratitude, but also begins to build trust with her children, the first step toward proving he could be more than just a fleeting romance. The next day, Nick drives to Suzanne's house. After speaking briefly with the babysitter, he steps inside to pick up Lindsay and Kevin. Upset that their father has once again let them down, the kids immediately draw boundaries with their mother's new friend, making it clear they don't plan on making things easy for him. Nick tries to start things off on the right foot by giving the kids a small gift. But it quickly becomes clear they're going to be nothing but trouble. Lindsay is sharp-tongued and defiant, while Kevin wastes no time practicing his newly learned kung fu moves on him. To make matters worse, the siblings won't stop bickering with each other. At the airport, Kevin delivers the first blow, literally to Nick's beloved new car, racking up $400 in damages. Nick, who treats the car like a prized jewel, loses his temper. Kevin immediately plays the victim, and before Nick knows it, he's being blackmailed into paying off the kids just to keep them from crying and missing their flight. Things only get worse at the security checkpoint. Lindsay convinces Kevin that if he carries the razor Nick gave him as a gift, he'll be arrested and sent to jail.
Panicked, Kevin slips the blade into Nick's pocket. As soon as they pass through the scanner, security descends on Nick, tackling him to the ground after discovering the item. The chaos gets them thrown out of the airport and they miss their flight. Determined to find another way, Nick puts them on a train. But Kevin's bladder infection soon brings the trip to a halt, as every few minutes he's begging for a bathroom. After that, Lindsay insists Nick stop again so she can tie her shoelaces, wasting even more time. Finally, just as Nick is loading their luggage, the kids spot a doll's cape and slip off the train. As it pulls out of the station, Nick scrambles desperately to get them back on board. They just stand there watching him struggle, making no effort to help. With no choice, Nick abandons the luggage and leaps off the moving train, landing painfully on the ground. Realizing he's running out of options, Nick decides to drive them himself. He calls Suzanne and explains he'll take the kids on a road trip to Vancouver in his car. The children demand to stop by their father's house along the way, but Suzanne admits the truth. Their dad won't be seeing them for Christmas. They'll have to go straight to her hotel instead and return home together later. The kids reluctantly agree, but vow to expose Nick's clumsy attempts at babysitting so their mother won't see him as anything serious. Before hitting the road, Nick lays down strict rules for the 300-mile trip. He orders the kids to sit quietly like statues, no touching anything, no chaos, and especially no damaging his car. But the journey has barely begun when they're stuck in traffic. The kids start bickering and mocking each other until Nick loses patience and mimics their behavior to shut them up. The silence doesn't last. They soon try every trick possible to drive him insane in the gridlock. When the traffic clears, spirits rise, and for a moment the road trip feels almost peaceful. But it doesn't last. Kevin suddenly has another bathroom emergency, forcing Nick to pull into a truck stop before disaster strikes his car's floor mats. While Nick is cleaning up spilled juice from the roof of the car, Marty calls to check if he's finally gotten rid of the two little monsters. Unfortunately, Kevin and Lindsay overhear, their resentment deepening. The kids step up their campaign. Kevin fakes an asthma attack while Lindsay plays along, convincing Nick to run to the trunk for an inhaler. The second he's out, Lindsay locks the doors. From inside, the kids taunt him, insisting they won't let their mother be used and abandoned by someone like him. Nick, frustrated, insists he's done nothing but help Suzanne, but they refuse to believe him. Then, in a moment of pure recklessness, the kids climb into the front seat and start driving his luxury car. Nick nearly has a heart attack as they swerve out of control, stopping just short of disaster. In his mind, he imagines teaching them a harsh lesson, but because they're Suzanne's children, the only thing he can do is threaten empty punishments. Lindsay flags down a passing trucker, signaling for help. Believing the kids are in danger, the truckers radio each other and quickly block Nick's path. When he refuses to stop, one of them deliberately scrapes the side of his car, forcing him to swerve off-road. Nick barrels through uneven forest terrain, his car taking heavy hits before finally grinding to a stop. As the kids laugh at his misery, Nick crawls out, cursing the world. With his once pristine vehicle battered and broken, he barely manages to limp it to a roadside tire shop. It's New Year's Eve, and the mechanic, eager to go home, doesn't even have tires big enough for Nick's car. Nick pleads with him to improvise, offering extra cash to fit smaller ones, desperate to continue the journey and finish what he started. It turns out the children's father doesn't live far from where they are, so they decide to split with Nick and take a train to his house. Even with his car wrecked, Nick refuses to give up. Borrowing a horse, he gallops alongside the moving train, trying to catch them. Just then, Suzanne calls to make sure everything is going smoothly and that they'll arrive on time. Nick assures her everything is perfect and they'll soon be at her hotel. Kevin and Lindsay, however, don't want their mother to know they're heading to Frank's, so they gloss over the chaos and reassure her that all is well. But what we see is anything but normal.
Nick fails to stop them and limps back to his battered car, now fitted with undersized tires. Knowing exactly where the kids are headed, he drives straight for Frank's house. Kevin and Lindsay, meanwhile, feel a twinge of guilt but press on, determined to spend New Year's Eve with their dad and bring him home. They believe Frank is lonely and sinking into depression without his family. Moments later, they're crushed by reality. Frank has started a new family of his own and no longer spares a thought for his past life. Heartbroken, the children return with Nick to his car, their illusions shattered. He tries to lift their spirits with a stop at a roadside diner, but they're too devastated to eat. Refusing to give up, Nick opens up to them, sharing that he too was abandoned by his father as a child. He promises them he'll never walk away from them the way Frank did. The words bring them comfort, and for the first time, their relationship begins to thaw. Soon after, Kevin discovers his asthma inhaler is empty. With stores closing fast on New Year's Eve, Nick scrambles to find a new one before Kevin suffers another attack. In a tense moment, he corners a doctor and demands to know where they can get the inhaler refilled.
Kevin, impressed by Nick's boldness, tries to copy the technique himself, marking the first spark of genuine connection between them. They finally track down a pharmacist, but the place is swarming with children, Nick's worst nightmare. The pharmacist insists Nick keep the kids entertained while the inhaler is being filled. With no choice, Nick dons a clown act, much to his humiliation. Meanwhile, Kevin uses his newfound confidence to scare off a bully, earning cheers from Lindsay, who now sees her brother with newfound respect. Chaos erupts when the kids swarm Nick, but Lindsay steps up, staging a live performance to distract them and, for the first time, rescue her mother's friend. Her impromptu show impresses Nick, and soon everyone is singing along. At last, the pharmacist hands over the refilled inhaler and the group continues on their way. By now, Lindsay no longer sees Nick as the enemy, and Kevin, buzzing from sugar from too many sweets, unwittingly delivers the final blow to Nick's car by vomiting all over the interior, causing Nick to lose control of the wheel yet again. Suzanne, worried about their 2-hour delay, calls demanding answers. Nick reassures her they'll be there soon. As they clean up the mess, a deer approaches the car. Nick encourages Kevin to face his fear and feed the hungry animal. Lindsay tries to capture the moment with her camera, but the flash enrages the deer, which charges at Nick. In the scuffle, he loses the car keys and resorts to desperate, makeshift methods to restart the vehicle. Using a lighter, he accidentally sets the car on fire. In a heartbreaking moment, Nick rescues only Satchel from the flames and watches helplessly as his prized possession explodes into ruin. His brand new car gone before he ever had the chance to properly learn how it worked. Furious, he blames the children for everything, but their tears break through his anger. Pulling them close, he assures them the car means nothing compared to them. Now, with only 30 minutes left to reach Vancouver, Suzanne knows she'll walk away if he fails. But this time, the kids promise they'll stand by him and help him make it through.
Apparently, with the help of a taxi, they want to reach their destination, but the truck driver kidnaps the children and leaves Nick behind, forcing him to chase after them with the help of another driver all the way to Suzanne's party. The children try to make the truck driver understand Nick's good intentions, but his anger blinds him to the truth. So the kids use their own way to stop him and sneak into the party while Nick is still fighting the truck driver on the ski slope. After meeting Lindsay, Suzanne sees live footage of Nick and immediately rushes to him. Kevin experiences another asthma attack, and Nick comes to his aid, calming him down at just the right moment. But upon witnessing Nick's condition, Suzanne ends their relationship after taking back her children, calling it a big mistake to have entrusted them to him. After the misunderstanding is cleared up, Nick, just 10 minutes before the new year, talks to Satchel, who suggests that he should forget everything and enjoy his freedom instead of getting caught up with this troublesome family. Yet, it seems that going to clubs and meeting new women at age 35 no longer excites Nick. What he really wants is a loving family. He recalls his recent journey with the kids. Though it was bitter, it gave him his first true taste of fatherhood. Nick decides to rush to Suzanne's hotel.
After apologizing and asking her permission, he goes inside to say goodbye to the children one last time. Lindsay and Kevin are overjoyed to see him and hug him tightly. Nick apologizes for his behavior and promises he will always look after them. He gives them his most precious keepsakes so they'll always remember him, even as Suzanne insists she cannot allow her children to live with such a reckless and hot-tempered man. But the children's warmth toward Nick, shown to a stranger for the very first time, deeply touches Suzanne. Finally, she herself proposes a romantic relationship with Nick. At exactly midnight, as the new year begins, they kiss, and their happy family is officially formed. After so many hardships, Nick finally finds lasting peace.